John Wayne's hands were around Katharine Hepburn's waist before anyone could stop him. "Let's see if the legend weighs anything," he laughed. The crew laughed with him. 40 men standing around a Western film set in New Mexico, watching the Duke do what the Duke did: take up space, make jokes, treat the world like his personal playground. It was supposed to be harmless, just the big star picking up the old actress. Good fun between professionals. Everyone knew Wayne. Everyone knew his sense of humor. Physical, loud, sometimes inappropriate, but always forgiven, because he was John Wayne. Then Katharine did something with her hip, something fast, something precise, and suddenly John Wayne was on the ground. 6 feet 4 inches, 250 pounds. The biggest movie star in the world. The man who defined American masculinity for 3 generations. Sitting on his ass on a dusty film set, staring up at a 68-year-old woman who hadn't even broken a sweat. Nobody was laughing now. What Katharine said in the next 30 seconds would make John Wayne apologize to every woman on that set. Would change how he treated female co-stars for the rest of his career. Would become a story told in Hollywood for decades as proof that some women you just don't touch. But right now, Wayne was just sitting in the dirt, shocked, humiliated, his carefully constructed persona cracked open in front of 40 witnesses. And Katharine Hepburn was standing over him, waiting to see if he'd learned his lesson. To understand what happened that day in May 1975, you need to understand the culture of film sets in the 1970s. Physical contact was assumed. Actresses were touched constantly, hands on shoulders, arms around waists, casual grabs that nobody questioned. It was part of the job. You tolerated it. You smiled. You didn't complain because complaining meant you weren't a team player. John Wayne had spent 40 years operating in this system. He'd grab actresses for publicity photos. He'd lift them, spin them, manhandle them for laughs. Nobody stopped him. He was the Duke. This was just how things worked. But more importantly, you need to understand who Katharine Hepburn was in 1975. She was 68 years old. She'd won 3 Oscars. She'd survived being declared box office poison and rebuilt her career on her own terms. She'd spent 50 years refusing to tolerate behavior other women accepted. And she'd been studying martial arts since the 1960s. Nobody on that Western set knew this. Nobody knew that Katharine had spent years learning Aikido from a private instructor in Connecticut. She'd started training at 60, partly for exercise, partly because she liked the philosophy of using an attacker's force against them. She'd never mentioned it publicly, never demonstrated it. It was private, like everything else about her real life. But she'd been training consistently for 8 years, and Aikido doesn't care how old you are or how big your opponent is. It cares about leverage, timing, and being willing to act when someone puts their hands where they don't belong. The production was for Rooster Cogburn, a Western sequel to Wayne's Oscar-winning True Grit. Wayne was 78, Hepburn was 68. They were playing aging characters in an aging genre. The studio had paired them thinking it would be interesting. 2 legends, 1 film. The first week of filming had been tense. Wayne was used to being in charge, used to sets running his way. Hepburn was used to being taken seriously, used to directors listening to her. When Wayne made suggestions about her character, she ignored him. When he tried his usual charm, she wasn't charmed. By the second week, Wayne was frustrated. This old broad wouldn't play along, wouldn't laugh at his jokes, wouldn't defer to his experience, wouldn't treat him like the star he was. So he decided to put her in her place, the old-fashioned way. Physical dominance disguised as humor. The incident happened during a lunch break. The crew was eating. Hepburn was standing near the craft services table, drinking water. Wayne approached from behind. "Kate," he used the nickname nobody was allowed to call her. "I've been thinking, we need to test something for the next scene." "What's that?" She didn't turn around. "Chemistry. We need to make sure the audience believes these characters have chemistry. We're professionals, we'll act it." "Yeah, but I like to method it out." He was closer now. The crew was watching, sensing something about to happen. "I think I should pick you up. See if it feels natural. For the scene where Cogburn carries you across the river." "There's no scene where Cogburn carries me across the river." "Maybe there should be." His hands went to her waist. "Let's see if the legend weighs anything." That's when it happened. Hepburn shifted her weight, dropped her center of gravity, turned her hip in a way that used Wayne's own grip against him. It was a basic Aikido technique. Ikkyo, the second principle, used the attacker's force and momentum to redirect them. Wayne found himself off balance. His grip, which had been meant to control, suddenly worked against him. Hepburn completed the movement with a twist that sent him stumbling backward. He tried to catch himself, overcorrected. His boots, designed for looking good on camera rather than stability, slipped in the loose dirt. And John Wayne fell, hard, landed on his tailbone with a thud that echoed across the set. The silence was absolute. 40 crew members, not one of them moved, not one of them breathed. This wasn't possible. The Duke didn't fall. The Duke didn't get bested by anyone, let alone a 68-year-old woman. Hepburn looked down at him. Her expression was calm. Not angry, not triumphant, just calm. "Touch me without permission again and next time you won't get up." Her voice was steady, quiet, but everyone heard it. Wayne stared up at her. His face was red, from embarrassment or anger, or both. He started to speak, stopped, tried again. What the hell was that? Aikido, specifically, a basic wrist lock and hip throw modified for someone grabbing from behind. "I've been training for 8 years. Would you like to see the advanced techniques, or has this demonstration been sufficient?" Wayne was still on the ground, pride warring with shock. The crew was frozen, unsure whether to help him up or pretend they hadn't seen anything. Finally, the director, Stuart Millar, stepped forward. "John, you okay?" Wayne waved him off, stood up slowly, brushed dirt from his pants. His face was still red, but his voice was controlled. "I'm fine, just slipped." "You didn't slip," Hepburn said. "I put you on the ground. Let's be accurate about what happened here." The two legends stared at each other. Everyone on set knew they were witnessing something. A power shift. A line being drawn. The old way meeting the new reality. Wayne took a breath. "You're right, you put me down. That was impressive. I apologize, I shouldn't have grabbed you without asking." "No, you shouldn't have. Won't happen again." "I believe you." Wayne nodded, then did something that shocked everyone more than the fall. He turned to face the entire crew. "Listen up, what just happened here is on me. I grabbed Miss Hepburn without permission. Thought it was funny. It wasn't. She defended herself, and she had every right to." He paused, made eye contact with several crew members. "From now on, we treat the women on this set with respect. No grabbing, no touching without permission, no jokes that involve putting your hands on someone who doesn't want you to. Is that clear?" Murmurs of agreement. Some crew members looked uncomfortable. This wasn't how things usually worked, but Wayne had spoken, and on a Wayne set, what Wayne said went. He turned back to Hepburn, extended his hand. "Truce?" She looked at the offered hand, didn't take it immediately, let him stand there, arm extended, waiting for her to decide if he deserved forgiveness. Finally, she shook. "Truce." The tension broke. The crew went back to lunch. Conversations resumed, though everyone was talking about what they'd just seen. Wayne and Hepburn walked in opposite directions. They had separate trailers, separate spaces. For the rest of lunch, they didn't speak. But something had fundamentally changed on that set. Word spread quickly. By dinner, everyone in the film community in New Mexico had heard some version of the story. Katharine Hepburn had put John Wayne on his ass using martial arts. The details varied. Some versions had her breaking his wrist, others had her doing a full throw, but the core was the same. The Duke had grabbed the legend. The legend had defended herself. The Duke had apologized. For the remaining 6 weeks of filming, Wayne was different. Not broken, not submissive, but respectful in a way he hadn't been before. He asked Hepburn's permission before any physical scene. He consulted her on character choices. He defended her ideas to the director when they disagreed. When she had a suggestion about blocking, he listened instead of dismissing it. And he stopped touching women on set without asking. Completely, immediately, permanently. The female crew members noticed first. They noticed everything. The script supervisor who Wayne used to pat on the shoulder every morning as a greeting, he started just saying good morning instead, keeping a respectful distance. The costume assistant he'd casually put his arm around while joking about wardrobe, now he kept his hands to himself. The makeup artist who'd endured shoulder squeezes, suddenly those stopped, small changes, subtle shifts, but every woman on that set saw them and understood what they meant. One of the actresses with a small role asked Hepburn about it during a break. "What did you say to him?" "Wayne's been weird since that first week. I didn't say anything, I just showed him that assuming permission is a good way to end up on the ground." "You really study martial arts." "For 8 years, my instructor always says the best fight is the one you avoid, but the second best fight is the one you end in 3 seconds. How long did it take to put Wayne down?" 2 seconds. Could have been faster, but I wanted to make sure he'd remember it. The story reached the press. A reporter asked Wayne about it at a publicity event. "Is it true Katharine Hepburn threw you during filming?" Wayne smiled, that famous John Wayne smile. But there was something different in it, something that looked like genuine respect. "She didn't throw me, she redirected me. There's a difference. And yeah, it happened. I grabbed her without asking. She let me know that wasn't acceptable. I learned my lesson." "Are you embarrassed?" "No, I'm educated. There's a difference there too." The reporter tried to make it into a feud story. Wayne shut it down. Miss Hepburn is a professional and a lady. What happened between us stays between us. All you need to know is I respect her and I'm proud to work with her. That response killed the scandal angle. No feud, no drama, just mutual respect, hard-won through a moment of accountability. The film finished production in July 1975. It was released later that year to mixed reviews. The chemistry between Wayne and Hepburn was praised. Critics noted they seemed to genuinely respect each other on screen. They had no idea why. Years later, after Wayne's death in 1979, Hepburn was asked about working with him. She was honest in the way only Katharine Hepburn could be honest. John Wayne was a complicated man. He had old-fashioned ideas about women and power and how the world should work. But he was capable of change. When I showed him that I wouldn't tolerate being grabbed, he adjusted. That takes a certain kind of strength. I respected him for it. The interviewer pressed, "Is it true you used martial arts on him?" "I used the minimum necessary force to establish a boundary. What happened after that was more important than what happened during." He apologized. He changed his behavior. He became a better colleague. That's what matters. Do you think he would have changed without the physical confrontation? Hepburn thought about this. No, John was a physical man. He understood physical language. Words alone wouldn't have reached him. Sometimes you have to speak in the language someone understands. The story became legendary in Hollywood. A teaching moment. Proof that standing up for yourself matters. That boundaries can be established. That even the biggest stars can learn and change their ways. Stunt coordinators started including it in safety briefings. Remember, even John Wayne got put on the ground when he didn't respect boundaries. Don't assume you can touch performers without permission. It doesn't matter who you are or how big the star. Consent matters. Martial arts instructors across the country used it as motivation. A 68-year-old woman defended herself against John Wayne. A 68-year-old woman who'd only been training for 8 years. What's your excuse for not training? What's your excuse for thinking you're too old to learn self-defense? And women in the industry told it to each other as encouragement. When a director got too handsy, when a star assumed too much, when the old patterns tried to reassert themselves, someone would say, "Remember what Hepburn did to Wayne. You don't have to tolerate this. You have the right to defend yourself." The Aikido instructor who trained Hepburn, a man named Robert Nadeau who ran a dojo in San Francisco, later confirmed the story when asked. "Kate started training with me in 1967. She was 60 years old. Most people that age want gentle exercise. She wanted to learn how to defend herself. We worked on it for years. She was dedicated, precise, and yes, she absolutely could have put John Wayne on the ground. Aikido is designed for exactly that situation. Someone bigger and stronger grabbing you. You use their force against them. Size doesn't matter. Ego doesn't matter. Physics matters." Did Wayne's behavior change permanently? According to people who worked with him in his final years, yes, he was more careful, more respectful. Still John Wayne, still big, still commanding, but aware that respect runs both ways. The New Mexico set of Rooster Cogburn in May 1975, a moment that lasted 2 seconds. A confrontation, a fall, an apology, and a shift in how one of Hollywood's biggest stars understood power and consent. That's the real story, not the legend of a fight, but the truth of a boundary being established and respected. Not humiliation. Education, not revenge. Accountability. Katharine Hepburn didn't put John Wayne on the ground to hurt him. She did it to teach him, and John Wayne, to his credit, learned the lesson. Sometimes that's all you can ask for, someone willing to hear what you're saying, even when you have to say it with your hips instead of your voice. Someone willing to change when they realize they've been wrong. Someone strong enough to apologize in front of 40 witnesses and mean it. John Wayne was many things, but after May 1975, one thing he definitely was, a man who knew better than to grab Katharine Hepburn without asking.